Buongiorno, um, bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, buongiorno, buonasera, dzień dobry, dobry wieczór, i cocktail, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Slater case, slightly distracted because just trying to figure out what are the two or three things I wanted to say in this video. So this one is returning to the weekend Slugathon, a marathon of comments on sluggy comments which I hope will enlighten us as to the mentality of these heroic searchers that gave up everything for one time only in their life to find a boy they never knew, never heard of, and then, for whatever reason, decided that it was their mission to insist that not only did they find this boy, but they knew from day one that it could only have been an accident that caused his death. It is the strangest case, but I do like to see how they express themselves because I believe every word these people write, whether it be Ivor Lovelace, whether it be Christopher Pennington, whether it be Peter Pennington, whether it be any of their supporters, we do get an insight into what I think is this most bizarre mentality of insisting that anyone that has any doubts whatsoever about the nature of the death of Jay Slater or the background, yeah, anyone that says it's pretty darn evident there's a narco background to this, they all must be shut up, slammed down, and repudiated in the most vigorous way. That is how it seems with, and I'm fascinated by this group because it is not the normal reaction. Normal reaction of anyone that's been involved in a search or supported anyone that's been in a search are very open to all interpretations of what might have been going on in the background. And I do think this is a unique case where we have such adamant insistence from people who, again, I repeat, didn't know anything about the boy, the family, the friends at all, but suddenly knew everything about them to the point of insisting they and they alone can say what happened here. It is a rarity in life that such certainty will 2 years later still be out there as this group fight not to be heard, but to shut up the other people who have a right to be heard. That is where we are with this case. Now, so that's me explaining why I am so attracted to the idea of analysing every word that these searchers and their supporters say to find out behind the words what is really going on. So in this Slugathon, today, Friday, and Saturday, and it hopefully will culminate in a mega Sunday roast because there's so much material out there. Today, Friday, I want to focus on the first 2 points that El Slugtardo raises in his recent community post, which I urge you to go and see. If you go to the channel, is called Lord Lugworm. And at this moment, let's just go off on a bit of a tangent here. It is fascinating how this group, the searchers and their supporters, what I call the AG, the accident group in general, it is interesting how they do love to portray themselves as some entitled group, literally, people with a title. I mean, who on earth with the name Ivor Lovelace from West Wales would go through life parading, trumpeting themselves as Lord Lugworm or Lord anything. But there we have the title, Lord. And as befits someone who crowns himself Lord, we have this person talking in the third person. Ivor, not referring to himself, but referring to Luggy, as if this kind of imaginary figure is present, omnipresent, always with us at all times. Luggy did this, Luggy did that. Who's Luggy? It is an odd one. Some kind of mental psychosis in operation here. I digress. Not only do we have the Lord Lugworm, we also have, of course, Pope Chris, who, as I showed the other day, when you look up in history, Pope Christopher was the anti-pope, the fake pope, the bogus pope. But here again, we have someone in the accident group that cannot resist giving himself a title. because otherwise, what are they in life? Just going by an ordinary last name, whatever it may be, Smith, Jones, Megan, really isn't good enough. In order for them to stand out, they must, number one, create a whole imaginary life for themselves, delude themselves into thinking they've accomplished something, but choose a title to go with it. Yeah, Lord Lugworm, Pope Chris the First, Thomas the Great, Janie and Rosie. Yeah, Janie not good enough on itself, but let's add Rosie, something natural, something beautiful, something the complete opposite of what bloody Janie is. Janie and Rosie. Yeah, these titles, well, Janie and Rosie's not a title. Little Miss Gobshite was a title, yeah. Janie 360, back in the past, was in fact Little Miss Gobshite. That's quite a Victorian sounding title, isn't it? Excuse me, have you received any notification from Little Miss Gobshite of late? Yeah, so we have this very grand world of very, very ordinary people. I suspect the common denominator is they haven't really achieved socially in life what they expected of themselves. And as a defensive mechanism, they take it out on other people that they see as perhaps something or someone quite ordinary. I don't know, guy that sits in an apartment in a closet, just has an old cheap laptop and, I don't know, mumbles and grumbles some off the top of the head shite on a daily basis. And of course, the temptation is to absolutely lord it over that person because that person is obviously useless. But the problem here is their assumption that that person they're lording it all over must be useless doesn't always pan out to be the case. And so we have these embarrassing moments where, we'll get to it now, Lord Lugworm has written some things that when you examine it, reveal that his lordship ain't completely right. And the person he's attacking may well be completely right. Now, as I said, it is a post on the Lord Lugworm channel. Another interesting fact about these people is even though they have a lot to say, they will never ever actually use their voice. They won't go on a camera. You won't see their picture. You won't see a moving picture. You won't see words coming out of their mouths. You won't see the moving image. These are the archetypal keyboard warriors typing away words on a screen, but not one of them, not one single one of them will do a video where you see their face, hear their words, watch their expression. They can't do it. They won't do it. It is something that even though they criticize others for doing, and they can tell you how it's done, of course, his lordship, her little miss ship, the Pope ship, Thomas the Great ship, they will all tell you what you're doing wrong and what a pathetic video you've produced. But as far as leading by example, that is way beyond them. Way beyond that. And so they have to hide behind this mechanism of, oh, well, of course I could be much better than you if I chose to do it, but who would want to? Interesting world. Let us go to Lord Lugworm, who, of course, because he can't put his own face out there, he's ashamed of it, he's embarrassed by it, that old, saggy West Wales look, Professor of Pisspot University is looking not only his age, but severely drained of all energy. Such is the absolute walloping he's taken over the last year or two. He can only put an AI Photoshop thing out there pretending it's him. But go to that post and you will see. Let's just do points 1 and 2 of what he has said in reply to one comment there. And point number 1 that he makes, Lord Lugworm says, how absurdly, stupidly optimistic and deluded that sphincter-lipped one is. I guess I must be sphincter-lipped one. To think DD would accept his help at the inquest. Now, on this one, I think his lordship, Lord Lugworm, is both correct and incorrect. Let's first of all explore how Lord Lugworm could be correct with this, that it was absurd of me to think that Debunking would accept any help of mine. I think with hindsight, when we all look back, and now that we all know that Debunking never was interested in getting to the truth of what happened to Jay, we now understand why, for example, me offering my services to be any kind of translator, to go through any Spanish documentation and make sure that is, put into crystal clear English, my offer to be sitting right by there with all the files we got on every single person involved in the J. Slater case, just so that when Adderley perhaps had questions or wanted to throw out to Debbie and Warren any kind of input from them, they would have that on hand. Yes, in the fullness of time, now we understand Debbie Duncan was never interested in getting to the truth of the matter. It does seem rather absurd that I would have offered help. Had I known all along that Debbie Duncan was never interested in getting to the truth of what happened to Jay, then I wouldn't have offered. I think that makes perfect sense. No one would have offered. What is the point offering to sit there and say, okay, if the coroner is particularly key to get first-hand Spanish spoken evidence from Ofelia, Roman, Ramon, Guardia Civil that found Jay's body, any of these Spanish speakers, to have offered that and think that Debbie Duncan might have appreciated that because she really wanted to hear firsthand from the people involved in Spain, now seems ridiculous. At the time, I kind of thought there was the possibility that Debbie wanted to know all these kind of details and to actually hear from the person that found Jay's body, to hear from the person live who apparently drove by him, the last person to see him. I thought Debbie might want help with that. As it turns out, we now all know Debbie doesn't care about that at all. As we all now know, Debbie's great mania, her passion, her great crusade these days is to try to shut up people like me that originally wanted to help her. And the reason she wants to shut people up is because certain people still have a lot of questions, the answers to which no one's explained, no one wants to explain, and they seem inexplicable. So on that front, I would have to agree with Lord Lugworm and Thomas the Great and Little Miss Gobshite and Pope Chris the First or anti-Pope Chris the First. I would have to agree with all of them. But now we have the full picture. We can see the wood for the trees. It does seem a little bit absurd that at one point I thought Debbie might appreciate help. But you live and learn, right? But let's now go to point 2. And these are the only 2 I want to cover today. Lord Lugworm says how absurdly, stupidly optimistic and deluded the Sphincter and his old lady crew are to think they were going to solve a crime. That never happened. 2 ways of looking at this. First of all, let's clear up who is who here. As I've already said, I think I am Sphincter. The old lady crew, I believe, is reference to my subscribers, my commenters, my community. Is this somewhat ageist? Is there something negative that's implied with being an old lady? I don't know. We know that Ivor likes them young. We know that. I mean, like I say any word or hint that Lucy could be something not above board, and oh boy, does Uncle Ivor jump in there. So we know he has this great mania and passion for defending the young. Some would say very young. Some would say very, very young ladies. Why the antagonism with someone that's older? I don't know. But it would seem, dear follower, that you might fall into that category of old lady crew. Be that ageist attack as it is, let's read carefully what he says. To think they were going to solve a crime, that never happened. I'm guessing the that never happened is in reference to what we think was a crime. But it's interesting the assumption here that Lord Lugworm makes that a crime never happened. You see, I happen to think that both things could be true. I happen to think that Jay could have died by accident. It's entirely possible. But to me, to deny that no crime was involved or no crime ever happened is absolutely absurd. Because we know crime happened and crime was involved. We know that. just tip of the iceberg, but we have Josh Forshaw in the inquest saying, yeah, I supplied Jay and Brad with whatever it was, the pill-in too, and there we go. That is crime. Of course, on the statute books in Spain, whether you're selling it, doesn't matter. If you're supplying it and it's an illegal substance, which it was, that is a crime. So there's the crime. We know that crime happened, and we know it's part of the J. Slater story. Whoever was supplying all of those narco substances, that cocktail of drugs that we heard about in the toxicology report, whoever it was supplying that, they're doing that illegally. And I would have thought, I don't think it today because I know what Debbie Duncan's all about, but I would have thought originally that Debbie Duncan would like to know who are these people that are supplying her son to the point where he is so out of his mind he cannot even think as he steps forward through the wilderness and off the edge and texts to the world, listen, I'm not going to make it, and then doesn't make it. I would have thought, if someone like Debbie Duncan, that crime that ended up with her son so stuffed full of narco substances he didn't know what the hell was going on, would be an important crime to investigate. But apparently not. So as we go back to this statement from Lord Lugworm, who it seems, judging by the reflection in his glasses, he claims to be, or he likes to be, or he is, I don't know, categorizing himself as some kind of Christ the Redeemer. We see in his glasses the great statue Christ du Redentor, yeah, the great Carioca symbol. Yeah, you would have thought that Lord Lugworm would have thought about this a little more. So when he says solve a crime that never happened, the crime happened, whether it's a narco crime or a killing crime or a cover-up crime. Yeah, crime happened. And it's interesting that, like he says, a crime. Going to solve a crime that never happened. So we only have to, as I've just done, produce an example of crime. And there it is. It happened. So it is incorrect to say crime never happened or a crime never happened. But I've done this before and I'll do it again. I want to challenge one more time this whole notion that we are supposed to be solving anything. This is something that we hear over and over again from the accident group. They keep, I don't know, broadcasting to the world that after 2 years we have failed to solve anything. I wasn't aware that we were trying to solve anything. I've always said the only people that can solve anything, as in how exactly did Jay Slater die, step by step, all of the background that contributed to his demise, the only people that can solve that are the authorities. They are the ones that have the power of arrest. They are the ones that have the power of interrogation. They are the ones that have the power to forensically examine phones and places. They are the ones that have the right to hold people, to bring charges, to have trials. It's not us. Solving a crime isn't possible if you're a sleuth, if you're someone that just follows enthusiastically and has comments to make. How can you possibly solve a crime like that? Especially in this situation, Lord Lugworm, when we have the media totally against our position, we have the arresting authorities totally against our position, we have officialdom, as in people like Adley, totally against our position. We only have a small group. All we can do, and we're ordinary citizens, we have no power, all we can do is discuss what we see, evaluate what it means, and, with fingers crossed, hope that at some point, someone involved in what we are sure is pretty serious crime trips up, slips up, says something that indicates a crime has been committed, and all of a sudden, those people that can solve something become involved. That is what's going on here. It's just our hope. And I said before, what we're trying to do is keep the pressure up. And luckily it's working, because for 2 years we didn't hear Lord Lugworm say anything about why Jay's friends never went up to rescue him. All of a sudden, one morning he got up and said, oh, by the way, I'm now going to tell you what's really going on here. The truth is, the Guardia Civil lied, yeah? those professionals that did so well in finding Jay, they also were so unprofessional. They lied to Debbie, they lied to the family, they lied to everyone, and they lied to Lucy, saying, "Don't go up there because we're sending a helicopter. This is all going to be resolved by the helicopter. You, Miss Lucy, sit tight, and your friends, they should sit tight while the helicopter goes to find Jay." Okay? Yeah, that's what we were told after 2 years. And I say that came out of El Slugster because he was under pressure. Okay, it's not much. It's an explanation that came after 2 years under pressure. But given the likes of me are going to do this for 2 more years, 5 more years, 10 more years, 20 more years until my dying day, and hopefully I will live a long time. How's it going, Melissa? Um, it's a result. It's a result after 2 years. Who knows what will happen after 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years? We might get there. There are many a case that gets tackled first and then resolved later, decades afterwards. It is worth the fight. Otherwise, the people who would like to be left alone and live a very happy life without having to wake up every morning, oh my God, there's another video and I mentioned in the title. Otherwise, that isn't justice. It is a form of justice, I think, that those that are involved in the cover-up, I allege there is a cover-up, those involved in it should wake up every day thinking, has anyone said anything that incriminates me? That is a form of justice in itself. All right, I will leave it there. As you can tell, this roastathon of El Slugtardo and his followers. Actually, let me just go back because there was something that I think dear old Janie said something. Maybe I'll leave that for another video. The whole if you know, you know. I want to tie that in with something that Mark Twain once said along the lines of, yeah, it's not what you know that's the problem. It's what you think you know and you don't know is the problem. So this whole if you know, you know. Yeah, that's fine. It's what you don't know and what you think you know that is the real problem. Now, I can't find the comment now. There's something about Janie's kid going to Rio. Because like I said, in his glasses, Lord Lugworm has a picture of the Cristo Redentor of Rio. Well, you never know. Maybe Little Miss Gobshite deleted her comment knowing that I was going to pick it apart. Well, seeing as I have to return to this post tomorrow, if Janie has her comment up there that needs to be ripped apart, I certainly will. But for now, let's leave it there. Wishing you a fantastic weekend. Saturday, third place playoff. Does anyone care about that? France against England. World Cup final. Does anyone care about that? Yes, I think so. And as far as I know, Jazz Views Live is now planned for Monday night, letting the World Cup take centre stage. On Sunday, we are planning to do a Monday night thing. So hopefully some of you will be there. Smaller audience on Sunday maybe, but hopefully, because I think we have some good quotes lined up. And we want to deal with that on Monday night. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.